The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, a new supportive housing unit opens in Vancouver.
South Asian communities rally for peace.
And a fundraiser at Kits Beach makes a splash.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Josh Kilner.
And I'm Aya Benasso. A new modular housing unit opened in Hogan's Alley this week. Dan Mountain has the story of Nora Hendricks' place.
Song and dance may not be typical at the openings of supportive care homes, but this is not a typical project.
Our people were displaced from this site. I know that we call it the temporary modular house. This is not temporary nor modular for us.
The 3-story, 52-unit building will prioritize helping low-income members of Vancouver's Black and Indigenous communities. Their focus is because of a disproportionate number of Indigenous homeless people currently living in Vancouver, while also rectifying the history of Hogan's Alley.
It's wonderful that the City of Vancouver and the provincial government are working together to make the city more harmonious and respecting those that came before.
The housing unit is named after Nora Hendricks, the grandmother of music legend Jimi Hendrix. Nora Hendricks' Place stands in Hogan's Alley, Vancouver's first Black neighborhood, right where Nora and Jimmy used to serve chicken and steak to the community.
We cannot recover their lives, but they were resilient enough to allow us to recover the community's life today and to leave a legacy for our own children.
The area used to be an epicenter for Black culture until much of it was bulldozed for the Georgia and Dunsmuir viaducts.
This city has a history of anti-Black racism. Not only are we committed to making sure that we call it what it is, but we also try to make reparations for the damage of the past.
The building marks the 600th low-income housing unit that the province has helped to fund in Vancouver.
It's a lovely day here.
Dan Mountain in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Dan Mountain joins us now. Dan, has the city committed to restoring Hogan's Alley in any other way?
Well, the problem really began with the construction of the Dunsmuir and Georgia viaducts because it demolished many businesses in Hogan's Alley, including the chicken and steak shop that Nora Hendricks used to work in. The city's current plan is to demolish both of the viaducts and give the area back to the community.
And what can we expect will go in the space created?
The plan is for a neighborhood to emerge around the place where the new roads are being built, and there's also going to be a space for an entertainment district featuring restaurants, bars, and office spaces. Back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Pakistani and Indian communities came together in Surrey to promote peace between their embattled homelands. My co-anchor Aya Benasso has the story.
We are for peace. War is never the solution.
Local South Asian communities braved the cold on Sunday to hold a rally. Their purpose, to call for peace between India and Pakistan. 13-year-old Janaki Patel made this sign because she's worried about the safety of her family overseas.
So many people will get hurt, and I can't bear the thought of that.
Tensions have been high between the two nuclear powers in the past weeks. Some say it's risen to a level unseen in decades. The latest wave flared up last week after both sides carried out retaliating airstrikes in the disputed region of Kashmir. The fighting prompted global concerns over a potential outbreak of war in South Asia. A captured Indian pilot has since been returned home as a peaceful gesture. The worry of war overseas has many activists speaking out.
We want to get that message out to the other countries, India and Pakistan, and others that are involved in warfare, that there's other ways to resolve differences, other ways to resolve issues without using violence. And we want to move the world towards that direction.
Kashmir has been a source of conflict between the two countries since 1947.
I know like the fight is like so old, but like sometimes like fights like have to end. They have to end eventually before too many people get hurt.
This community and many others across Canada say they will continue to stand for peace as long as it takes. Aya Benasso in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
Driver of a stolen vehicle that sent 2 RCMP officers to hospital on Monday is still at large. Police say a white Toyota Camry swerved past a semi, striking the officers. Police say the vehicle was later found abandoned.
People from all over the Lower Mainland took a plunge into the waters off Kits Beach last weekend. Here's more from my co-anchor, Josh Kilner.
What do squids, mermaids, and leprechauns all have in common? They've all come together at Kits Beach to support BC Special Olympic athletes.
We make new friends as well.
Athletes like decorated Olympian Matthew Schmink.
With fellow athletes, coaches.
Really have enjoyed the past few years, 5 years or give or take in Special Olympics. There have been lots of many amazing challenges and meeting new people. I think that's the most important thing that I can take out of Special Olympics.
It's hard enough to find one Waldo, but today, colorful characters like this are freezing for a reason, taking a plunge into the ocean to help raise funds to support athletes with intellectual disabilities. Even the cops showed up, but not to break up the party.
This is an event that law enforcement throughout British Columbia have supported for many years. So I'm proud to be down here today with many other VPD officers. We've got RCMP, Transit Police, Abbotsford, New Westminster, and we're all going to be jumping in the water and raising money for a great cause.
Many participants had pre-plunge jitters, but most were keeping their cool.
I took a cold shower once. It wasn't great, so yeah. I mean, we got free healthcare here in Canada, so if anything happens to me, I'm good.
3, 2, 1, get in and plunge!
And then it was time.
Don't worry, it's not
It was a sight to behold from the shore, but most of the fun came in the water. Special Olympics BC says that close to $95,000 was raised by sponsors and volunteers. But there's something even more important for Matthew.
Well, yeah, once again, thanking all the coaches and volunteers, parents and caregivers, and for taking the time out of busy schedules, because I know they have busy schedules, to help a lot of us athletes be our best and have fun. I think that's the most important thing.
3, 2, 1, get in there, plunge!
Josh Kilner in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. Coming up after the break, people across the Lower Mainland come together to help women in poverty.
And music instructors teach for free at this progressive studio.
Let the walk begin!
10,000 steps. Some would say it's a far distance, but for women in developing countries, it's an average day. Imagine carrying a bucket of water on your head for over an hour. For Samantha and Bella, they wanted a glimpse into what it takes to survive.
It's difficult already, and usually the girls that have to do this every day, they carry a lot more weight and water, and they also have to walk 2 times a day just to get the water.
Just to get water and food, so this is nothing for us, on a beautiful day like that. But
this year, Walk in Her Shoes aims to raise funds for girls in Malawi, $100,000 to be exact. And the federal government has pledged to match that number times 10.
Our hope is to break the cycle of poverty. And whenever there's poverty, women and girls suffer the most. Yet, women and girls are actually the key change agents. So when we help women, and we pull them out of poverty, we break that cycle of poverty.
Close by the finish line, participants listened and danced to African music and were able to buy items made in Africa, with all the proceeds going back to the locals. Turns out a poverty-free future might be within walking distance.
Yeah, but we just wanted to try it out, and yeah, it does put in a lot of perspective.
Jenny Cameron in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Jenny Cameron joins us now. Jenny, can you tell us more about where the funds are going?
Well, by 2020, Care Canada hopes to raise $5 million to help women in developing countries lift themselves out of poverty. So whether that is building a well in their village, so instead of spending their time walking to get water, they can go to school or work and earn money. Josh?
And what was the biggest takeaway from the event?
Well, I spoke to many people participating in the walk, and many of them were hopeful that one day nobody will have to live in poverty. I even spoke to one participant who said events like these are crucial to making that happen, as it raises awareness and teaches people issues that are happening around the world. Back to you.
Thanks, Jenny. Families of people that are suffering from addiction started a support group in Surrey this week. Michael Beck reports.
Over a short period of time on Sunday, a dozen people died in Surrey from fentanyl overdoses, and contaminated drugs are believed to be the cause. The opioid epidemic claimed 210 lives in 2018 in Surrey, up from 178 fatalities a year prior. With the large death toll, many families have already been affected, and families with loved ones battling addiction are scared that tragedy might strike their household next. Stronger Together is a Surrey-based social group aimed at helping family members watching loved ones battle addiction. People like Tracy Letts, who has a son who's been battling the disease for 8 years, and like any parent, she's fearful she could receive a call stating the worst.
You know, you think about that all the time. You can't get away from that. It is what it is. Like you just...
Leslie McBain's son Jordan died from addiction, and she comes to these meetings to help teach others how to care for loved ones who are battling this disease.
Hold them close. Don't practice tough love. Don't let them hit rock bottom. Rock bottom does nothing except hurt. To support them in any way you can, but to keep yourself safe.
These meetings will run all week long, and the data collected will be used to help health service planning, delivery, and research in an attempt to give families the tools necessary in caring for those who need it. Michael Beck in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
A music school invites people from all backgrounds and abilities for free lessons in Vancouver. Noah Bergstrom has the details.
Enter Horizon Music School's new headquarters on Terminal Ave, and you can already hear and feel intense and powerful rhythms from a collection of talented instructors and eager students.
Oops, Daisy, one more time.
Prodigies of all ages were invited to pick up provided instruments and strum or smash away for no cost at all.
Make the drum a bit part of the sound, right? But the starting...
They're scared to commit financially or with their time, and we want to provide an opportunity for people to come in and try it for free to see if they like it. And with the Empower Through Music, our nonprofit part of it, we're looking forward to giving away free music lessons and instruments, so there's no barriers. We just love sharing the gift of music, and everyone on our team really likes to give back, and we're just grateful to have the opportunity in this space to do it.
And at Schultz's new location, he's hoping to reach a wider demographic and offer a bigger variety of instruments. Horizon plans to assemble 6 more of these soundproof cubicles, perfect for keeping in new musicians and noisy drums.
Yeah, I think free lessons, like you're gonna probably get a wider scope of people, like maybe people that are less fortunate too, and I think that's wonderful. That can be a really good point to get them into music, where they may have not had the opportunity to come in and hit a drum or play some chords.
Mistakes were made often,
It takes a little bit of jimmying, but you're gonna get it.
But with careful instruction,
You have a good foundation. Right, let's do it together now. So
even beginners were able to jam along by the end of today's free lessons. I'm Noah Bergstrom in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
take your second or third finger, put it on the third fret.
Coming up, a vigil for disabled people who have been victims of violence.
And a new way for kids to learn about homelessness.
Journalism's changed a lot in the last 20 years, and BCIT's been at the forefront of that evolution.
Those are your news updates for Evolution 1079 News.
Now it seems like the industry is changing by the minute, so now, more than ever, we're taught how to adapt.
The federal government unveiled a new immigration plan that would When I first started at BCIT, there was only one thing that I really wanted to do in journalism, and this program really opened my eyes to all the avenues of employment. And now I feel really confident that I have the skills to get hired.
From day one, you're out there chasing down stories.
You aren't just sitting in a classroom reading about journalism, you are a journalist.
BCIT Newsroom.
I look back at the work I was doing even 3 months ago, and it's just amazing to see how far you can come in such a little bit of time. This program really teaches you skills and techniques to learn how to better communicate.
Jamie Dodd in Vancouver.
In New Westminster.
In Burnaby.
For BCIT Magazine.
It's International Women's Day this Friday, and the theme is Balance for Better. Whoa! Oh, hey! Just doing some reading ahead of this week's Feminist Literary Festival. It's called Growing Room, and it's taking place at the Redgate Review Stage on Sunday. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. I was just doing some investigative reporting. You know, I like a good laugh after a long day's work. You can head over to Surrey's Arts Centre where you'll see hilarious female comedians. Looks like an interesting film, but I'll be too busy to watch it because this weekend is the Vancouver International Women in Film Festival. It hosts the best of cinema created by women, and it runs from March 5th to 10th. Thanks for watching this week's episode of BCIT Community Calendar.
Don't forget to celebrate all the amazing women in your life. Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. In the theme of International Women's Day, our producer Daria Zargar learns more about Young Women in Business, a new club on campus.
Hi, thanks for joining us. There's a lot of events going on for International Women's Day this Friday, and we're here at BCIT to talk to Maria Bushman about women in business. So Maria, can you tell us a little bit about the program?
So Young Women in Business is it's a group of young women at BCIT, mostly from the business program, but also from different programs. And honestly, also we've had some joiners that aren't even women, so we're trying to get more inclusive, and we focus more on the empowerment of women and trying to get them more involved and trying to do more activities to get them more focused on their goals and just developing their confidence.
What do these kind of activities consist of? Like, what do you guys do per se in a day?
Yeah, so we'll have club meetings about every 2 weeks just to get everyone together, get everyone on the same page. Activities and workshops that we ran have been an intro to coding workshop, and we've done a goal setting workshop as well, and we have for the future planned a dress for success workshop.
Okay, so what does the future look like for the Women in Business?
So the future, our next big event is Dress for Success. So that's gonna be more of how to, because we think that just with the more modern age, the whole idea of business casual or business formal is getting really reinvented, with people allowing to have more freedom in how they dress, so it's not so much pencil skirts, heels, and blazers anymore. So the event's gonna more focus on more kind of inclusive and just more body positive dressing for interviews and workplace stuff. That's our big event that we're coming up with.
So how did the Young Women in Business start on the BCIT campus?
So it is all over Canada. So every university in the Lower Mainland does have a team, and then also CapU also has one. They're more of on our level. So we've basically learned from more previous Young Women Business. It was the 10-year anniversary this year. So it started a couple years back with just a couple members, and so we just continued trying to grow it to envision more women being present and more women being prominent in the business workplace, since BCIT is more of, I guess, a business or trades focused school.
And what do you think the importance is of this kind of group being at BCIT? Because I know we don't have a lot of similar ones. I think this is one of the first ones, right? So.
Yeah, so I think our big focus is just trying to have there be almost a safe space and a sense of community, because it can feel a bit lonely, especially in not only the business program but other programs. There isn't necessarily as strong of a female presence. So we just want to have like a group of allies and group of members to kind of support each other and to see each other through our goals and to know that they do have someone they could go to and a group of people that is there to empower them.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was Maria Bushman for the BCIT Women in Business program, and we'll send it back to the studio.
A vigil was organized in New Westminster to acknowledge those who have been murdered or abused by their caregivers.
I'm autistic. I am disabled. I'm not a burden. I'm a person.
Not feeling like a burden, that was the theme at this year's Disability Day of Mourning. A crowd gathered outside Woodlands Memorial Park to read the names and remember the people they say were murdered by their caregivers because of a disability.
It's a cycle, right? We have a parent who feels like there's no way out, and that this child must die because the disability is so bad.
The group advocated for harsher sentencing for parents who commit violence against people with disabilities.
I'm not a burden. I can do this. We can do this.
An East Vancouver brewery is struggling to find a new home because they are being priced out of the city. Our reporter Graham Cox has the story.
For the team at Storm Brewing, it's a routine day. But major change could be on the horizon. Storm, one of the pioneers in Vancouver's craft beer industry, now has an expiry date on the home it has been at for 25 years.
It got sold recently, and the new landlords don't really want to have a brewery in here, so they've offered to cancel my lease whenever I want, but it's going to be over in 2 years. So.
With industrial space scarce in Vancouver, Walton says relocating his small operation will come at a premium rate.
I'm looking at double my rent, just because it's gone up so much lately. Everybody thinks these buildings are made out of gold, and I'm made out of money.
The situation at Storm Brewing, not unique. Just down the road, Callister Brewing Co. is facing rent increases as well, and finding a way to cover these costs isn't easy.
It's a very delicate area, and if we all start raising prices, that may also start to affect people coming into our lounges and enjoying that beer. Packaging and distribution is expensive, so we'd really rather have them in these spaces. So that's actually a real challenge that we're trying to figure out.
According to Lay, the rising popularity and gentrification of East Vancouver has driven rent considerably higher, and he believes that is driving people away.
Again, I think we're seeing an exodus from the city of Vancouver in quality, in talent, in brain, the literal brain drain of people leaving this area because they simply can't afford to be here.
With no change in the trends, it could mean microbreweries like Storm and Callister are forced to move out as well, or close their doors for good. Graham Cox in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
A French-speaking group, La Boussole, is putting together a puppet show to teach kids about homelessness in their communities. Leah Fishman has the story.
Papier-mâché, paints, glue, brushes, and textiles. All part of an afternoon at this downtown East Side basement. But it was more than just craft work. Welcome to a marionette workshop. Today, volunteers are creating a puppet show for kids. The theme is homelessness, and the story is based on real struggles French speakers face in Vancouver. Yves Rochebeuf is originally from France. He moved here a year ago, and he knows how hard it can be to start a new life.
It was hard to find a job at the beginning and housing. Because I didn't work, so I didn't have much money, and the housing here is pretty high here. So it was hard for me to find that, and then also find a network and friends.
The idea behind the show is not only to educate kids, but also to provide French speakers with a moment to socialize. As the puppets take shape, friendships are made, and a message emerges.
Those people are still people like you and me. Feelings, emotions, needs. People just have some difficulties in life, and sometimes you end up in the street, and you can have also different kind of problem. That doesn't mean that you're a threat. So I think it's also good for me to realize that.
It's all part of a learning experience, not just for kids, but for adults as well. Leah Fishman in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
And in sports news, the BCHL playoffs are well underway. Michael Beck brings us the highlights of the Langley Rivermen versus Chilliwack Chiefs.
The Langley Rivermen took on the Chilliwack Chiefs in Game 3 of the best-of-7 series at the George Preston Arena. The Rivermen are leading the series 2-0 to this point. Rivermen forward Mark Gallant opening the scoring in what would be a theme for the rest of the night. Here's Gallant taking an Alec Kapsick feed and tapping it past Chiefs netminder Daniel Chenard to make it 2-0 Rivermen. But a scary moment for Chenard here when Daniel Lakin ran him over. He finished the period, but he was pulled during the first intermission. A beautiful feed from Ryan Wallach to set up CJ Walker up front made it 3 unanswered first period goals for the Rivermen. 3 minutes into the second, Gallant reaches past replacement goalie Nolan Hildebrand for the hat-trick goal. Trevor Ayre scored the takedown victory over Ethan Boehm in this spirited tilt, which really solidified the Rivermen's complete dominance in this game. And the cherry on top was Gallant's 4th goal. It was a wrist shot from the slot. Braden Fleming made a 19-save shutout, and the Rivermen would take this one by a final score of 5-0, moving the series lead to 3-0. Head coach Bobby Henderson said confidence was key in the victory.
Probably a little bit of confidence. Our guys were rolling, they're feeling high. Those guys, that was a tough loss for them. But we know there's a lot of pride in that organization, and they're not going to go down without a fight, so we got to be prepared to go tomorrow.
Game 4 is in Langley on March 5th. Michael Beck, in Langley, BCIT Magazine.
Actor Luke Perry has died at the age of 52 following a massive stroke. Perry gained a heartthrob status after playing the wealthy rebel Dylan McKay on Beverly Hills 90210. Perry also starred as Archie Andrews' father on Riverdale.
A much-loved and unconventional member of the counseling department at the University of the Fraser Valley is retiring. Mac the dog is a 15-year-old golden retriever. He's helped students through more than 6,000 counseling sessions.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitnews.com. Thanks for watching this week's edition of BCIT Magazine. I'm Josh Kilner.
And I'm Aya Bonasso. We now leave you with a view of Stanley Park.